Call of Duty Ghosts was supposed to be the start of something. A new franchise for a new generation, something with heroes, victory, and sacrifice. The dad lore we tell our sons around a fire. But what happens to a story that doesn't stick? Ghosts is trying really hard to create a movement, to make something more impactful. It really wants to say more. But what it leaves behind is something else entirely. A feeling I didn't expect. A story with no weight, no resolution, no echo. This game is about ghosts, but not the kind it thinks. Not legends, not warriors, just shadows moving through a story that's already lost and forgotten. Ghosts wants to create a legend, something to aspire to, something that we can truly believe in, something that you and I can be a part of. Just keep doing tests so you can be like your old papa. Join the club, but not through any sort of meaningful growth or character development. Just one mission, one reveal, and bam, now you're a ghost. For an exclusive league of mysterious super soldiers, the barrier of entry doesn't seem too bothered by nepotism. You just have to trust that both of the brothers were quietly passing a series of tests during a 10-year time gap. They can take on all sorts of soldiers, but wolves? Absolutely not. And yet, it's hard to believe that a conversation like this just never came up. Ever. Were the ghosts watching in the shadows the whole time, waiting around to save Logan and Hesh just in case? How does Elias keep such a big secret from his sons without them catching on or questioning or showing any concern about it? It doesn't make any sense. And if he does have ghosts watching them as they complete their sort of tasks, doesn't that show a complete lack of trust? If Elias is torn between protecting his sons and leading the ghosts, then show that. Show me the dichotomy of a father trying to save his sons from the world while also doing his duty to the world. That is more interesting. But Hesh and Logan are just sheep. They have no wants, no desires, not until Rourke kills Elias. Then there's agency. Then the story finally begins, but it's well over 75% of the runtime. Does the defend the homeland motivation work? Maybe for you, but it didn't for me. It's unconvincing, shallow, and never backed up by anything within Hesh and Logan's dialogue. They just follow orders like good old boys, the good old soldiers, and they never have any sort of inner conflict. And when they learn that this huge truth has been hidden from them their entire lives, there's no reaction. It's like one of those stupid-ass TikTok spice videos. No reaction, no pushback, no defiance, just two walking wood planks, one that is silent and one that should be. Ghosts takes itself very seriously. It tries to conjure up so much emotional weight that just never lands. Many of the in-game cutscenes are plagued with stilted, poorly delivered dialogue that's kind of hard not to cringe at now.
Come on, Dad. You don't honestly believe that story's true?
Yeah, I do.
We have to go back. Our dad's down there, and we're not leaving without him.
Dad, this whole time you were one of them. You're a ghost.
Try the ghost.
You know, sometimes it's really easy to forget what Call of Duty is. This is the blockbuster Avengers movie of video games. The mainstream household name that everybody, including your grandpa, knows about. Expect to shoot some baddies, see some spectacle, hear some banter, and finish the fight within a good old 5 to 7 hours. But that's not fair. That's a cop-out answer. These games are made with compassion, care, and cooked up with the flavor to be good. Now, the efficacy of different studios is a different topic, but for the most part, the people that are actually physically working on these games do care a lot about them, and sometimes we lose sight of that. So remember, there is a real person trying their best at the other side of this. And that's something that I had to remind myself while writing this, to be honest. And the irony of it is that these games were good for a period of time. Looking back on the timeline now, Call of Duty Ghosts was the very end of the golden age, and actually it was at the cutoff. The last game that released was Black Ops 2, and if you look back at everybody's favorites, it kind of ends with Ghosts. Infinity Ward swung for the fences on this one. They wanted to create a new series, like I said before, a new franchise, a new cast of characters that we could latch onto. A brave new dystopian world on the verge of collapse, but what did it actually do to push the envelope forward? You like leaning around corners? You like enhanced fish AI? You like dog technology? Well, my friends, this may be the game for you. I may have just sold you there. Sold me. On the other side of that coin, the complete lack of self-awareness that Call of Duty as a franchise has compared to the scope of video games has always baffled me. Features that 20-year-old games get to have are magically plopped into COD and called innovation. They are just trailblazing, leading the way for video games. Bravo, bravo. Ghosts presents all of the normal situations and on-rails missions that you've come to love and know. Turret sections, tanks, aircrafts, stealth sections, and breaches. Spam F to live or stab. Left click and right click to drag. But hey, it's not all stale. And I do have to give Ghost credit where credit is due. They give you all of these same beats that we've come to know, but they turn a few of them on their head. And that is where things get really cool in this game. Let's take a look at something that Call of Duty is known for, those classic slow motion breach and clears. Busting through a door and then spraying the room down in slow motion is awesome. It's totally badass. But Ghost takes that a little bit further and actually plays on our expectations. The first breach and clear that you have is the standard one that you've come to know and love. You put an explosive on the door, you hide for a second, door goes boom, you shoot everybody inside. And this time we've got our boy hitting dual-wield pistols. It's freaking awesome. And it's what the standard for COD is. The second time you go to breach a door though, Merrick shoves you out of the way and the door gets shot out and he saves your life. And it kind of plays on your expectations, you know. A lot of the times when you put an explosive on the door, it's almost like a safe point. Like, okay, we know what's coming, and it plays with your expectations and completely flips it. And the third time it happens, it's actually against you, which takes the concept of this even further. The Federation breaches into a room that the ghosts are stuck in, essentially. It's a great play on what we've come to learn and trust and expect in a Call of Duty game. And I love it. I want more of that. Double it and give me 20. Shit. COD Ghosts added some new mantling features, the slide, the little blurred scope instead of the black, which I remember that being super controversial back in 2013, and now that I've used it, we were all such babies. But do you know what else can be sneaky? Living in the shadows? Downright ghost? That one subscription you forgot you had. And that's where today's sponsor, Rocket Money, comes to the rescue. Because you shouldn't have to manage all of those subscriptions alone. It can get messy, just like the plot of this game. Rocket Money is an all-in-one personal finance app that helps you track unwanted subscriptions, lower your bills, and manage your money smarter. After linking your bank account, it'll pull up every subscription that you have, and just with a couple of taps, you can cancel them. I used it to get rid of a few subscriptions that I forgot I had. No awkward phone calls necessary. Plus, Rocket Money automatically scans your bills and can renegotiate things like internet or cable for you. If you want to take control over your finances like I did, go to rocketmoney.com/Zaldeyy or click the link at the top of the description and get started today for free. Thank you so much for sponsoring today's video. Back to Ghosts. Ghost feels good to play, I must say. The weapons are beefy, the knife animations are crisp, and the movement is butter. Can you tell that I'm hungry? Call of Duty never really had a problem with gameplay. They got that down way back in 2007. The formula has seriously been the same pretty much since its conception. And it still, to this day, probably doesn't need to change that much. You see guy, you shoot guy. How novel. Spectacle, set pieces, and characters are where all of the Call of Duty games really separate themselves and create their own identity. Unfortunately, Ghosts most certainly suffers in the character department besides work, and we'll get to that. But what it does have is a lot of spectacle. Grappling down a skyscraper while fireworks go off around you, and then you shoot through a window to interrupt a poker game is absolutely breathtaking. So is exploding a submarine, exploding an oil rig, and the Osprey runs in the ocean. But not this one. This one feels like one of those on-rail games you'd see in the movie theater hallway. It's weirdly stiff. Seeing a big-ass 18-wheeler almost crush you while your entire neighborhood is getting leveled by death lasers from space is just, it's epic. But it's also kind of silly. And the problem is that this game doesn't want you to think it's silly. Because we're trying to be a ghost, goddammit! In a world that's trying to take itself very seriously, I'm not sure the super Transformers action set pieces are the way to go, especially when you're trying to like make this a pseudo assassin RP game, which doesn't really see that through. The game doesn't really try to break that Call of Duty mold like it should have. Sure, it enhances some things like I said, but it doesn't try to take on a new identity. And I think that's exactly what hurt it. It's like the game or the developer or some part of the process didn't fully believe in itself, so it couldn't blossom into what it should have been. These stealth sections are a lot of fun and something that I really look forward to in a lot of Call of Duty games. What sucks is that they're way too easy and forgiving. If I was spotted, all I would have to do is just shoot the guy and it wouldn't matter. I could keep stealthing around. There's no punishment for not playing the game correctly. There just isn't a whole lot of consequence to being stealthy, and I wish there was. Many of the missions start out with stealth, but then they progress into an action movie. A grand escape, a big explosion, a massive firefight. Nothing can seem to end on a slower, more concentrated note. If you want to make your Call of Duty game about stealthy assassins, then do that shit. Not everything needs to be balls to the wall. In fact, some of the more slower, methodical sections are some of the most memorable of the entire game. Badass masks don't make your game cool, but a badass game can make anything cool. Stealth has always been a big part of Call of Duty. One of the most iconic missions ever, all gillied up, is a modern shooter staple for how to do a slow-paced sniping level. And Ghosts has plenty of stealth, as I'm sure you can imagine. But it takes stealth one step further with the inclusion of animals, aquatic and land. Now, for the length of 3 team deathmatch games, you'll get to use a new doggo named Riley. Controlling Riley to sneak around enemies and attack them to gain intel is really fun, even if logically it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. You can press a button and he'll run up and bite somebody's throat out, and you can sometimes control him. Just run around and be silly, sneak attacks, barking, all the things doggos love to do. The irony about Call of Duty Ghosts trying to be something super stealthy and having all of this enhanced dog technology and shit is that the stealthiness of the dog makes no sense. Like, he's crawling around in very low grass that anyone with a brain can see. And then when you attack soldiers, they scream and you're like ripping them up and making like grunting dog noises. Like, literally anyone could hear that.
Stay out of sight. You're learning one of the cars.
Suspension of disbelief, I get it, but for a game that's trying to take itself seriously, like we've already established, it should have been reworked a little more. And what's really comical, the cherry on top, is that after you control Riley, you put down this, you do it through like this little tablet thing. So when you control him, you go on the little tablet, and then when you're done controlling Riley, you put down the tablet, and then you're instantly teleported to where Riley was, like where he finishes at. So I get it, you don't want to go through the same level twice, one with a dog, one with a human, but like the fact that we just spawn there is kind of laughable. I will say though, hearing Riley cry and whimper when things get sad is absolutely gut-wrenching, and it makes things so much worse. What sucks the most though is that you only get to use him for like 2 missions. Then he disappears, reappears, gets sniped, we carry him, and then we never see him again. What happened? I must know right now. You will tell me about where the damn dog is. I swear to God, if he's not alive, there's going to be hell to pay. Speaking of getting shot though, these guys must be shooting paintballs and marshmallows, because getting shot is like getting hit by a toddler with no arms. Elias, shot 13 times, see ya. Rourke, shot in the heart, grabs stomach, survives. Hesh, shot, does not matter. Logan, shot, does not matter. What were they thinking? Even that bastardized remake of MW2 had the smarts to make you limp and grunt after getting shot, but here, oh no, not around here, partner. Not around here. This is normally something that I can look past, but at a certain point, there has to be consequences for getting freaking shot. How can you even remotely begin to justify this? For how good the sound design is, the weight of a bullet is just light as a feather. One of the best stealth sections though is deep below the surface in a sunken ship. The game slows down. Now we're trapped with the apex predators. Sharks. This section should have been so much longer because it was so intense and just so cerebral to play through. I enjoyed navigating around the sharks much more than I did shooting guys in the water. You know, it's a damn shame those Federation aren't a mix of man and shark. Combined sea and air. Wait, sea and land, you know. There's your next $1 million idea. That's Ghost 2, everybody. That's a wrap. I wanted more of those little sections where you get to sneak around in a dense jungle alone or hide behind a waterfall. That stuff is really cool. Aren't we supposed to be ghosts? This world is just begging to be snucked in. You want to sneak around. Civilization is in the midst of a collapse, if not at the edge of total collapse. Dallas may have collapsed back then, but it's still collapsing till this day. But it's really hard to feel the weight of the world on your shoulders when you don't see the people you're trying to protect. Who are we fighting for if not our loved ones and freedom and America? Obviously, you're not going to walk into the base on Antarctica and see a family of 5 eating ice cream. But in the beginning, near the City of Angels, where is everybody? What happened during all the evacuations? I want to know what that looked like. The opening is strong with you running through your neighborhood as it's getting leveled, but nobody is there. This is something that eerily echoes the same fate of the story. It's empty. The most we get of civilian activity is when we're told by Odin in space.
Phoenix. Locked. Targeting Houston. Locked. Targeting Miami. Locked. Estimated casualties. Over 27 points.
We aren't given faces or names, we're just given numbers and cities. It's at least something, I guess, but it's not enough to show the true impact at a smaller scale. Yes, we see it from space, and we see it as we're running through our neighborhood, but what about the families? What about it's dark, but women and children, what happened to them? Beyond that, seeing the wreckage and craters and remains of a city left to ruin is nothing short of greatness. The world building beyond the Doomsday event in No Man's Land is very convincing. It's suffocating and just really eerie. The memories of those that were once here linger, but there's no sign of them. Everything has been looted, picked apart, and kind of left to rot forever. As the game progresses, so too does the complexity of the world that we discover. The deep coral reefs of the ocean are beautiful and vast. The snow-covered mountains in Patagonia are mesmerizing, and the dense jungle foliage of the Yucatan is just unsettling as hell. Everything is well crafted to look and feel real, and they do. Ghosts is the ideal adventure, starting at home and then branching out to different locations, making the game bigger in scale as you go and you learn. Also, this is the first Call of Duty that goes to space, which I know is kind of surprising, but it's true. The controls are a little bit wonky, but the suspense and build up to the deaths of these 2 astronauts is really good. They sacrificed themselves thinking they'd won, thinking that they'd ended the attack, and little did they know that it was just the beginning.
Specialist Mosley. Kira. We have LOS with the crew of Odin Control. Repeat, loss of signal with Odin Control.
Ghosts believes it's really important, that the world still has juice left to be saved. We are fighting between some semblance of normalcy and Mad Max utter chaos on the other side. We're in this limbo period of war that, for better or for worse, must come to a conclusion eventually. Ghosts are meant to be these guardian angels, something that enemies fear even when they aren't around. Just the paranoia and anxiety alone are enough to scare baddies away. Waiting in the shadows, it's Batman. It's literally just Batman. This part with Rourke is also just ripped straight out of Dark Knight Rises, by the way. Ghost wants you to see how revenge corrupts all. A nation that's fed up with being second-handed to America. A tortured super soldier hell-bent on payback. Two brothers eventually hunting their father's killer. Nobody can truly win when revenge powers the engine. The war is pretty much deadlocked, with each nation doing blow after blow. That sounds really bad, but hit after hit, that sounds bad too. They're hurting each other back and forth for like a decade. And Rourke, with the tunnel-visioned help of Logan and Hesh, is forced to start over at square one with a new outlook in mind. But who are we fighting? If the world's deadliest, most secretive assassins are called in to help, then these guys must be pretty serious, huh? But unfortunately, the Federation is just a faceless entity. We don't know the person behind all of the scheming. And Rourke is just a soldier like us. I actually like that there are two villains presented, one with the more broader story of the world ending, and one that is smaller, down to earth, down to scale, down in the dirty trenches with us. But one suffers a lot in the I care department. The Federation, I'm just gonna say it, they're just goons that speak Spanish. That's literally it. That's it. It's like they spent all their skill tree points on giving Rourke a backstory and making him more fleshed out, and they just completely neglected the Federation. Who the hell are they? What do they want? What are they doing? Why do they want to take over the world? I get the whole oil plot in the beginning, but like, why? Rourke, to me, is a compelling villain, and I know it's kind of cliche to have the revenge corroding all subplot, but I think it actually works pretty well, especially with the idea that eventually Logan may end up like Rourke, tortured in the jungle, trained to hunt the best, creating a potential showdown between two brothers, two ideologies, two chances to make the series worthwhile. God damn it, where is that sequel? The revenge tale is nothing groundbreaking, but it also doesn't need to be. Giving the villain motivation is something that most stories nowadays don't even really do. Sometimes when the villain has a good point, what are you supposed to do? What it does is it allows you to pick a side and choose for yourself rather than being spoon-fed who's the good guys and who's the bad guys, because in real life it's a lot more gray. Rourke's entire backstory is told through a mission where we play through it as Elias, which is weird because Elias doesn't speak during it. I understand the whole silent protagonist bit in Call of Duty, but doing that same thing with an established character was not only weird, but really jarring. At the end of the level though, after some flooding, Elias is forced to make that impossible choice. Save one or save them all. And Elias chooses to save the squad, something that Rourke will never forget. But shouldn't he know better? Rourke is the alpha. He is the team leader of Ghosts at this point. He, of all people, should understand the predicament that Elias is in. And if it was role reversed, Rourke should pick the squad over one person. It's a hard decision. I'm not trying to make light of it. But at the end of the day, that's probably the decision Rourke would have made too. What it shows is that the corruption of revenge corrodes even the strongest of hearts. Even though he kind of disappears for a lot of the story, the parts where he pops up are normally the strongest, with the death of Elias probably being the strongest scene in the entire game. As he lays in a pool of blood that you were forced to create, your father says that he's proud of you.
I'm proud of you, Logan. Everything's gonna be okay.
Something bookended at the end by Hesh.
I'm proud of you, Logan.
The heartstrings are being tugged really hard, but all I can think about is, damn, Rourke is cold as hell. Not only that, but now he's given your character something to fight for, something to believe in, something that gives him, like we said before, agency. That little thing called revenge. Dun dun dun, it is mirroring the main plot of the game. And yet, with the spoon feeding that it does to itself, the game never fully takes advantage of that. It's insane. Show me that the two brothers are going to devolve into something like Rourke, that the cycle will continue. Instead, it just does nothing. At the very end, Hesh is like, we're going after Rourke. And that's it. That's literally it.
We're gonna lead on Rourke. We're going after him.
Negative, Hesh. Return to rally point. We'll track him down together.
Sorry, Merrick. Your mission's complete. Ours isn't.
Let's get this bastard.
Nobody provides pushback. Nobody gives a fuck. It's hard to believe that we give a fuck. I don't give a damn or a fuck. Jeez. The world is full of character, but the characters are full of nothing. You get nothing. The legacy of Ghosts is just a funny thing. You play as the legacy, one of the two offspring of the man once in charge. I assume the Ghosts continue on, try to save Logan, and finish the fight by killing Rourke in extreme Call of Duty fashion, I guess. But we'll never know. The legacy will forever be hanging off a cliff, left in video game limbo forever. Ghosts wants you to feel so special, that you're among an elite group of individuals doing jobs that your team is only capable of. Being a ghost means being in a family. On the surface, it all seems so perfect. Picking an enemy, taking the shot, and seeing everybody drop around you will never not be satisfying. If teamwork makes the dream work, what makes the stakes work? Why should I care about the men dying next to me? Or should I? I don't know. Who are these guys when the mask comes off? Hello, anybody in there? Do you have a family or a life outside of work? Nothing beyond the main mission is ever explored, which makes it difficult to care about any of them. When Elias is killed, not so much as a peep or a mention happens. They show more compassion and care for that freaking dog than they do for their leader. And in Hesh and Logan's case, it's their freaking father. He may have been a ghost, but his memory sure did fade fast. Maybe that's the point. These are America's best. The soldiers that can kill without a blink, making decisions in a heartbeat. They aren't allowed to be affected by death or emotions. They are Marcus Aurelius. But that's not exactly true. We've already seen them grieve. They give more of a performance for Ajax than they do for anybody else in the game. Riley whimpers in the background. It's a solemn scene that sets up the Ghosts as a family, as a unit, as a cohesive piece. And that's never explored or delved into ever again.
How is he?
It's bad.
Son of a bitch. Hang in there, Ajax. Hang in.
Rourke. It was Rourke. He's targeting. Look. The wall.
Come on, hang in there, Ajax.
He's gone. Damn it.
This scene is the emotional height of the game, and it's never reached again by any of the characters. You can't have one of your most emotionally complex scenes in the game happen within the first 45 minutes. Being a ghost isn't special. Does having the mask make you a ghost? Does buying into an ideology or a certain belief make you a ghost? Do you have to kill a certain amount of times? I don't know. This origin story is claimed to have legendary status, but to who? To the guy that's telling the story to his sons as he's the current leader of it? I mean, Jesus, talk about self-promotion. Elias would have loved those sub-for-sub websites back in the day, let me tell you. To me, the ghosts are just playing dress up, like me. And I'm unconvinced with their status as legends. There is nothing behind the masks, just hollow people living in an empty world. And don't get me wrong, I really wanted to believe. I want to become legend. That sounds awesome. A character that another father can tell his sons about decades later. I won't forget you, ghosts. And neither should you. Keep that legend alive. Keep that fire blazing. We probably will never get a Ghost 2, but a new idea that could change everything. Call of Duty Ghosts tried to be remembered, but it never got a real chance from its developers or its player base. And maybe that's exactly why I just can't forget it now. If you like what you saw, maybe click on that old video there, or World at War, for all you old heads like me out there. And also, I just want to thank you all for 15,000 subscribers. Like, we've been growing so fast, and I truly appreciate it so much. And now, before you click on the video, I will fade away like a ghost. You see what I did there, didn't you? Okay, click the video. This is getting awkward. Thank you.